when you are playing Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, how does it affect your mindset? Are you pressing a little bit more knowing that you're going to need to get points, or do you try to just go out and play your game?
Welcome to QB Unplugged with NFL superstar quarterback Deshaun Watson and me, the quarterback consultant Quincy Avery. Brought to you by Lockerverse. Tap in for exclusive content and join the Dog Pound community. Each week we bring you exclusive content from the quarterback perspective. This week we're going to be joined by special guest Ryan Clark. But before we do that, let's hop into the games. It was big.
Do it.
Championship Sunday.
Big games.
I think one of the coolest weekends in all of football. Were you shocked by anything? What did you see, that caught you off guard?
Was I shocked? Not at all. I think the biggest thing that I was shocked. Yeah, I take one thing from each game was I thought Baltimore was going to score more points.
I thought they'd go for it.
And then,
17-10 is not the one.
Nah, not at all. But I can see 17 for KC. 24-17 or something like that. Where Baltimore kind of pulled away, but, Kansas City did a hell of a job. And then the Detroit game, I mean, come on, bro. I've been in this position before, so I know how this shit is. 24-7 at half. Good thing mine wasn't at the half, though. Mine was after the first quarter.
By the time you got back to half, y'all like, oh, shit, we in
I think it was a halftime when I played Kansas City because we lost 24. We was up 24-0 and 3 possessions, like 4 possessions. It was crazy. Like, it was to the point where, and I'll go a little story time if we got a little bit of time. It was to the point where it's like you're sitting there and you got Pat Mahomes on the other side and the Kansas City Chiefs. You on the road and you're 24-0 in the first quarter. And you know that feeling where you just kind of sitting on the side or you just sitting somewhere and it just don't feel real? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit just don't feel right. Like, it's like that itchy, like, in your stomach. It's like, nah, this about to turn somewhere, somehow. Yo, let's tighten up. Let's go. Like, we got to stay on it. Stay on it. Fake punt. And after that, it was a wrap. They scored 8 possessions in a row. So, like,
they put that.
I think that Detroit, they had 30 minutes to fix something. And, I mean, you can go through all types of situations throughout that game, but I feel like, who knows, one field goal or one possession, you know what I'm saying? Who knows what would have happened, but, hey, it's football.
I'm not mad at any of the times that he went for it on 4th down, right?
Yeah,
I think that whatever you did to get somewhere, you got to keep doing it. You got to go home with the girl that got you there, right? So
he was consistent.
I'm cool with that. There was just some plays that I wanted to be made by guys out there that just were left on the field. Like, with Josh Reynolds, he had 2 big drops on 4th down. Not, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to make mistakes.
I think
just
the biggest
little
one
things
was...
that I think...
No, go ahead. My bad.
No, it's just those little mistakes. I think they just add up. Especially if you have that not big mistake, but the big play, the ball bounces off his face mask and they get a 51-yard. Boom.
Yeah.
And then you go fumble right after that. It's just so hard for teams to get momentum and get back going and feel comfortable and be able to play in the way that you need to play moving forward from that.
Yeah, but I think, and I could be wrong, I'm just saying it from a spectator, watching it. I've been in that position before, but from their aspect, I was just watching the game where after that big play that he caught off the face mask and he caught it at the one that scored, I felt like that was the turning point. That was a big turning point. If they would have caught that interception, I think Detroit wins the game easily. But after that,
it's like you start looking for ways to lose.
Yeah, you just start feeling like, oh, nah, they boys, they playing a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Now we're not in sync. Now the quarterback and running back going the wrong direction on the power, and it causing him to fumble. Like, those small details just start to add up. Boom, 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 boom. And then it starting to turn into that snowball effect. But, yeah, that Josh Reynolds was tough, though. Was it 3rd down or 4th down? That over route?
4th down.
Oh, man.
The 4th down.
You got it.
I feel bad for him.
I know, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
But you watch Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was like 50% in the first half. Did not play great at all. Second half, comes back, looks like a new man. Like, what does a quarterback do in that halftime period and make those adjustments to go from I feel like he was struggling in the first half to come out second half and be almost a new guy?
I think the biggest thing is just finding that rhythm. You know, getting there with the OC, getting there with your guys, and just like, let's settle down. We can't win it all in one play, but like if we keep stacking, our defense is gonna play. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna have opportunities, and if we can just capitalize slowly but surely with a little bit more urgency, like that's what we're gonna do. Perfect example. When I played my last game this year against Baltimore, terrible first half, whatever people want to call, you know, dealing with a broken shoulder, sprained ankle. It is what it is, no excuses. But like, we came out second half. First half, we're trying to throw it down the field. We trying to get the big plays, big plays. Second half, I'm just taking 5-yard pops, boom, boom, play action, hit a 20-yard pop here. And the next thing you know, you look up, you're 14 for 14, 150, a touchdown, and you beating the number one team in the NFL on the road, divisional game. Like, you just got to settle back in, and you can see that in Brock. He just settled in, and then once you start hitting the ball, start hitting the receiver's hands, and they catching it, that's where you get your rhythm as a quarterback, and that's what he did.
Then we go to KC Baltimore, right? Let's go to that game. You watched that. You said you weren't surprised by anything. I was surprised when Lamar Jackson broke that run and started looking back. I'm like, yo, you were the fastest
yeah, I know
quarterback
what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But he always do that though. That's the crazy thing. Like sometimes if it's clear cut, he just gonna outrun you. But if you kind of even with him, you kind of like I don't know if he noticed, but the other team we like shit, like he gone. You know what I'm saying? That's 6. But like for some reason I don't know. Maybe he just didn't feel it at that angle or that moment. But like I felt like he could have scored too.
I really love watching Lamar play, and I think he got a lot of knocks for how he played, but I think that they put him in some difficult situations. They only had 16 runs, and a few of those were not even design runs, right?
Yeah.
He has 8 carries, but no back on his team had more than 3 carries. And you would think that the game was you'd think it was a blowout or something. Like, no, we're in this game. Y'all need to be running the ball. They had a couple gashes when they first started. It was just a game. I think that, like you were talking about, you playing Mahomes, you playing these teams that are upper echelons, you feel like you got to do more in order to be successful instead of just being who you are. Like Dan Campbell didn't win, but at least he was who he was the whole game. And I think that that's something the Ravens need to look at.
Yeah, they definitely went away from that. I felt like, you know, like you said, that's a crazy stat. So he had 8 carries.
Yeah, 8 carries. Gus Edwards had 3. Zay had 1, and Justice Hill had 1.
Wow. That's the reason they lost.
Yeah.
We can say
throw the ball. You can't throw the ball like you need to if you're throwing it 37 times.
No,
right?
That's the reason they lost. Baltimore they're gonna test you early too. We're gonna run the football and set the tone, and then we're gonna play action and hit the tight end, and then one of our receivers is gonna catch a slant, and then Zay's gonna catch that. We're gonna roll out, bootleg out, and Zay's gonna go deep. That's their game plan. But like you can tell, like you just said, I didn't know that stat, but that's why.
Yeah. Well, those are the games this weekend. Only thing else that happened to me this weekend, well, a couple of things. One, I got banged on by the Swifties, right? 2.4 million. Oh my God. Like, hey.
How much was it?
It was 2.4 million views and a whole bunch of tweets. The crazy part about the whole thing was I didn't even say anything negative about it. I just said I was tired of seeing her. I didn't say, oh my God, I hate this lady. She's not talented. She's a superstar. They don't show anybody else's girlfriend that much. Like, we just tired of it. Show something else. I was gonna have you read some tweets, but I'm a
I don't need to read no tweets. I don't need to read no tweets.
We're gonna read it. How'd you feel about the reaction from your T. Higgins comment?
I kind of figured that's how it was gonna kind of flow. I knew Cincinnati fans was gonna try to butt in and things like that. It's all entertainment, man. What are you talking about? Of course I want T. I want shit. All the top receivers if I can, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, it's just throwing it out there, throwing a little nugget out there, you know. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, that's out of my, I don't control that. I don't control the free agency. I don't control who we bring in and who we don't, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I had some people in the uproar, I had some people doing this and saying this and saying that. You know how Twitter is.
They out here studying the salary cap breakdown.
Yeah.
I see that you got that $19 million. They don't know Andrew Berry about to get in here and do his thing. He about to start signing bonus.
All this is all planned. Like, if you really listen to AV's podcast, he's telling you the game plan, like the blueprint. Like, we're straight. We know exactly what we're doing for the next 5 years.
AV got a podcast?
Nah, I meant, sorry. He did his interview, not his podcast.
Oh, his press conference.
Yeah, his press conference. My bad. And, he just explained everything. You know what I'm saying? This is what we got planned. This is what we got to do. But you can't tell everybody everything.
Give him a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But, yeah, Cincinnati fans is going at my neck, though. But it'd be like that.
So it seems like we got the Cleveland Browns covered, Pittsburgh Steelers covered, and the Cincinnati Bengals covered. Pretty much the AFC North. All broken down, but we're going to bring in that last guy, Ryan Clark.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Clark, host of The Pivot, former NFL champion. He's done a lot of really cool things that I haven't done. I don't think people know how many NFL DBs you train right now, right? What are the things that separate the guys you train from everybody else?
I don't necessarily know if they're different from a standpoint that you could point to each one and say that makes them different. I think the thing that happens when you do train with me is that, like, I like to push dudes. You know, like, I want cats to be the best they could possibly be. I know we're going to talk about David's Elite Week as, we continue to go, but I'm out there with Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the best players in the entire league, obviously all pro at the position. And, like, I know he's that good. Like, I know he's better than I've ever been. But what I'm trying to get him to do is the little things that I needed to do just to be good. The little things I needed to do, like, just to start. And, like, that's what it is for me. And I do think having played the game gives me an opportunity to sort of talk to these dudes in a different way. You know what I mean? Kind of relate to them on a level that, like, not everybody can. And I think the thing I want to impress on them the most is, like, I've been retired for 10 years now. You know what I mean? Like, next year will be the, 10 years since the last season I've played. And I played football until I was 35. You know what I mean? Like, you were retired much longer. And when it's done, it's done. You never want to look back with regrets. So I will say the one thing about guys, I believe, that train with me, they understand the intensity in which you need to train with, but I think they have a large respect for the work.
I got a question on that topic. So when you train the guys, like you said, you've been retired for pretty much 10 years now, and the game has changed so much. Are you coaching them on what you was taught back then? Are you adapting with the game, and how is it changing to be able to explain it and train them?
Yeah, so I think you got to do both, Deshaun, right? Yeah. So what I do is I spend a ton of time with college coaches and NFL coaches, because those games are so different.
Right.
But a lot of the college concepts and the things that work, even kind of starting in your time, when you think about spread offenses,
no, for sure,
shotgun, 11 personnel. So that is now getting to the league, heavy nickel, stuff like that. And so I need to learn it. I need to learn the technique, right?
Yeah.
If it's a slot corner that's going to play a ton of catch, I got to go learn how people are playing catch. I got to learn, the new hot blitz, it is where they're bringing 6, they're only dropping 5. So there's actually a zone that's voided. I got to understand what they're looking at. And so for me, the principles are the principles, like understanding angles, understanding tips and tendencies, footwork, all that junk the same. Like, that really never changes.
Yeah.
Just the way to ask you to apply it and what you're doing changes. And so I just need to keep up with the trends of technique, schematics, things like that. But fundamentals and foundations are fundamentals and foundations, which I'm sure for quarterbacks, there are those things that stand the test of time too.
Nah, definitely. And do you think that with today's game, do you think it's more man for safeties? Because, the corner's going to play man. But a lot of times, a lot of people communicate where back in the day where it was a lot more zone coverage, Tampa 2. But now it's a lot more blitz 0, more man coverage, one hole, and things like that. So do you see that changing a lot?
Yeah.
Or it's more similar?
Yeah, I think it's changed. No, I think it's changed a lot, but it's also like per team.
Right.
Like when you get people from like that Dan Quinn, Pete Carroll tree,
You kind of know what
see
they're
a lot
gonna
of
do.
cover 3, right, from those teams, and then you get the Brian Floreses who's bringing things from like Pete Narduzzi at Pittsburgh, right, where he is doing different things. Or take the Baltimore Ravens this week.
Right.
I don't know when the last time you played the Chiefs, Deshaun, but they do a lot of pressure from too high.
Yep. I mean, it's
You know
still
what I
same.
mean?
Still, yeah, he's still doing the same thing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you get fire zone out of that, but you'll get 2-man out of that.
Yeah,
You'll
a
get
lot of 2-man
out of that. And so when people looking at L'Jarius Sneed and they're like, man, he manned up on Jamar Chase, you like, well, not really. You know what I mean? He
it
has
depends on
help
which one
over
he's
the top.
playing.
So
Exactly.
Well,
And they do a good job of
so I
switching it, making it look the same, where he might play like he's playing man and come off and play the flat. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you get it right on the head.
And I think, and you guys got to watch the game yesterday, and I know y'all understand the quarterback position better than me, but you could see that Spags was able, defense coordinator of Kansas City, he was able to make Lamar hesitate a little bit.
Yep.
Right? Because he was giving them the same look, but they might bring 6. They might bring 5. They might simulate pressure and drop a D in.
Yep.
And I think like all those things, it shows you like how much more talented though everybody on the defense has to be. But in my opinion, it started because of people like you, people like Lamar, people like Pat. Like you can't have these big statues out there, because y'all will carve them up with y'all legs too. And so I just think the game is changing.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you say people like that, I know we got to watch Brock Purdy. It looked like you changed your stance on him a little bit. You see someone like him play, go from either a game manager, right? I don't care what nobody said. He's the best version of that, right? You see him go from that, and then you see the second half. I think people absent, like the first half didn't happen. He played bad the first half, but comes out, bounces back, and I think people they move too much on one game. Like one game is just one game. He is his body of work. Really good body of work, nothing elite if you ask me. But when you watch that tape, you see someone like Brock. What about that last game makes you be like, oh, I could change what tier he's in?
So I don't necessarily think I changed what tier of player he's in. I did change his tier of accomplishment, if that makes sense to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we're drafting players, right? I'm not going to walk into a draft if you give me all 32 starting quarterbacks and be like, hey, man, yeah, we got Deshaun Watson and Brock Purdy. You give me freaking Brock, right? Like, I'm not going to make that decision. And you think about the Justin Herberts who haven't been in that position. You think about a guy, CJ obviously lost in the divisional round. Like, I'm taking all those dudes before Brock Purdy. But even with that, we have to acknowledge his accomplishment, right? Like, we have to acknowledge that he was down 17. And yeah, it's a team sport and the ball gets tipped off of Vildor to Brandon Ayuk, but this is a dude who doesn't normally use his legs because everything's on time. Everything's in anticipation. Kyle dials it up perfectly. It wasn't ideal for him, right? And so what I think about, though, is, well, it wasn't ideal for Dak against Green Bay, and they got their doors blown off. You know what I mean? It wasn't ideal for Tua against Kansas City, and they got their doors blown off. It wasn't ideal for this dude, bro, and he was able to figure out a way to make plays with his legs, with his arm, the play to play the Jennings that he throws over the middle, the Kyle Juszczyk throw on the throwback. Like, dude made plays that are above the X's and O's, and that's what we're really talking about, Quincy, right? Because like game managers, we're like, if it's dialed up to do this, you can do that. But what can you do when that breaks down? And it's not about being able to run and scramble and athletic, but it's being able to say, okay, this isn't working out how it's drawn up to be, and I'm good enough to overcome it. And he did that in one of the biggest games of the season.
Facts.
That he did. So when we look at that, right?
No, I definitely agree.
Agreed on all fronts. But Baltimore Ravens game, we watched that. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he played well. He played good enough, I thought. But he didn't overcome the same things. He hasn't been the same place as Brock Purdy's been. Like, when you look at him, what do you think about him?
Well, I think first off, I take him before I take Brock Purdy.
I
I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. In one, I won't ever pretend like that I know what it's like to be that talented at anything. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what it's like to tip a ball, outrun a DB and catch it myself and go for 13.
That was wild.
You know what I mean? Wild. Like I don't know what that's like. But there is something to be said for being dominant, right? Because that's what Lamar is, bro. Lamar has been dominant. He's going to be a 2-time MVP by the age of 27.
Mm-hmm.
Right? His first full year as a starter, he's the unanimous MVP. He comes back this year and wins it with a not necessarily different style of play, but applying it differently. And you're on the best team in football, with the best defense in football, and you're going to win the MVP, and you're playing probably, at least offensively, the most vulnerable Kansas City team we've seen in the last 6 years, but they're better defensively, right?
Yep.
And it's one thing if this ends up in a shootout, Lamar goes crazy, or you think back to like Josh Allen, divisional round, what was it, 2021, I think maybe.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, Lamar showed up. It is what it is. Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. Right? Like Charles Barkley was an MVP too, but he just had to play Michael Jordan. But he didn't do that. And that's a problem. That says that maybe the moment, maybe the pressure, or just that day wasn't your day, but that's how y'all are defined. Right? Like, I don't care what anybody say. Like, I watched college football like everybody else watched college football. What I did watch was the college football playoffs. Right? And I knew that the Alabama Crimson Tide years ago had a team full of pros on defense.
Hell yeah,
and I also knew the quarterback of the team wearing the orange was the best player on the field. Right? That's what I knew.
Right,
and so when that player becomes what he becomes in Houston, I was like, duh, dummies. I don't know what you draft Mitchell Trubisky for anyway.
Right.
Right? Like that, that is my thought process. Like, you could see it. And so I think that when you look at Lamar, he still has a ton of time. He's really young, but there's a big difference in all respect to Jordan Love. Like, Jordan, in this first year starting, man, dude has so much promise. I think they need to sign him right now to a big deal. But it's a big difference, bro, when it's like, okay, we might play Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Dak, Jared Goff. And then when you start the season, you're like, shit, I might see Pat. I might see Joe. I might see Lamar. I might see Deshaun. I might see Justin. I might see CJ. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole different thing.
It's a different horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think Jordan's going to be in that conversation that you just said. Them group of dudes you don't want to play against. Jordan Love is almost there. He might not be there right now.
I have a question for the quarterbacks, though, because, like, I do TV. When you are playing Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, how does it affect your mindset? Are you pressing a little bit more knowing that you're going to need to get points, or do you try to just go out and play your game?
I feel like there's got to be a balance. So, like, for me, I got to be aware of what Pat, Lamar, Joe is doing on the other side, but I got to be locked in on my task at hand. I can't try to match them, because they're going to make hell of a plays. Like you said, like Lamar tipping the ball, catching it, running it for 13 yards for a first down. Like, shit like that is going to happen. Or he's going to scramble around, break out a sack, and throw a bomb to Zay Flowers. But you can't go out there the next drive and be like, I got to do that right now, because that's where you kind of fall back in that low, in that trap. You can't get caught up in the hype. It is what it is. Like, man, Pat was the same class, but at the same time, like, you got to give credit where credit's due. He's been fucking great. You know what I'm saying? But I can't get caught. You know what I'm saying? But I can't get caught up in that, because going through the week, the question's going to be, how you feel about Pat? Y'all came out the same draft class, this, that, the third, Super Bowls. But I got to lock in on my task. So I think throughout the game, if you can stay locked in on who you're going against, that defense, but be aware, okay, we might need to go for it on 4th and 1. Sometimes we might need to kick it right here just to get points so the defense can see. Because you know how it is. If you go out there, you miss the 4th down, the air go out the whole team. You get 3 points. All right, cool. We still in this now. Let's get one stop. We can score and take the lead, or whatever the situation may be. So, like, I think sometimes for sure, like, cause I've been in situations where I played Pat. I think I played when we played in 19 in the divisional round. 19? We went up, where we were up 24-0. Then they just hit fire, and I felt like offensively we were trying to match them because they wasn't scoring on just like 12-play drives. They were scoring 2-play drives, boom, 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 boom. And it's like, it's like in a boxing match, you just getting hit. And I'm just like, I'm trying to stop it. How can I do? You trying to swing a haymaker and you miss. So it's like, nah, for sure. So you do press and you can see it too. Right? I think real people that really watch it can see it.
Right, that's what I was going to say, right? They start out with 14. The Kansas City Chiefs have 14 early against Baltimore. Lamar has the big play to Zay.
Yep.
You know, it's 7-7. Patrick comes right back down, and they score. And so I just think, like, Todd Monken, Lamar, they got caught up into, like, we've been here before. We've lost. We're playing Patrick Mahomes. It looks like he's going to score a ton. We got to match score for score. Yep. And I think it's great that you mentioned sometimes you got to kick it. Think about Dan Campbell in Detroit.
Yeah.
Right?
Hello.
You're up 14. You're up 14. You could go back up 17. You're in the same place you started to have, but you missed it on 4th down. They get the big play. Now all hell breaks loose. And you know how it is, bro. When you're the team that's not supposed to win, the closer it is, the tighter you get.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, oh, Lord, here they go.
Facts.
And so I just think, man, you know, I think we saw a lot of that this weekend, and I don't believe that the common fan understands how hard it actually is to make it to a Super Bowl.
Tough.
You know, New England got everybody effed up, right? Because they won 7 or they won 6 in 20 years. Tom Brady goes Tampa, wins 1. Patrick Mahomes has been to 4 in 5 years, right? 6 straight AFC championships. And people are treating this like this is normal, right? Like, we ain't really talking about it like it should be talked about. The Patriots and the Steelers both have, 6 championships. The Steelers been around dang near 100 years. Like, that's how hard it is to get there. And so what, Patrick Mahomes is doing, I just don't think it could be, understated.
And you talked about, like, Dan Campbell, those decisions, right? You see Jared Goff, you see Dan Campbell. What do you walk away with those two, the impression on those two individuals after this weekend?
I think my first thing is, godly, I love how consistent Dan Campbell is. And what I mean by that is, like, Q, you're my guy, but you're annoying. But you're always the same.
Facts.
I'm going to be consistent. You can count on consistent. I'm going to talk shit every time I see you. Consistent, right? And so like, like I always tell people all the time, like, if you're going to be like an a-hole, bro, or if you're going to be a turd, just be that every day so I know how to address you, right? Like, I know when I walk into the building, we got an issue every single day. Like, I'm comfortable with that. I don't like when people switch up. And the one thing Dan Campbell didn't do, like, he didn't switch up. Like, let's say Dan Campbell ain't go for it 3 times on 2-point conversion in Dallas, or we didn't see him throw a football to Panay Sewell last year on 4th down, or a hook and ladder to knock the Green Bay Packers out of the playoffs last year. If I had never seen any of those things, throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown on 2nd and 9, right? And had I never seen any of those things, I'd have been like, man, Dan got real out of character in this championship. He was just being himself.
Facts.
And I think what I would take from that is I could walk off of the field and into the locker room and say, Coach, you tried to let us win it, right? Everybody's talking about the Josh Reynolds drop on the first 4th down. To me, that's actually a hard catch, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tough. Like when he stepped, he's coming back. I felt like he was going back to the quarterback, and Jared threw it a little off here, but that's football, right? Jared could throw it better. He could catch it. And, on the other side of it, Brock Purdy in San Francisco capitalized.
He was keeping tip balls, you know what I'm saying, making every play, recovering fumbles. Yeah. And then when I get done watching Jared Goff this week, I think of him as such a better piece, right, than what we originally thought of him when he gets traded from L.A. to Detroit. Before it was like, I guess we got to take Jared Goff. I think there's a lot of teams who wish they had a Jared Goff at quarterback today.
I'm a fan of Jared Goff. I love the way he played. I think he plays it the right way, smart. He takes his chances. And, he's just like one of those, of course, game managers that's been playing at a high level. And he's very comfortable with whatever they're doing in Detroit for sure.
RC, if you cutting on the tape Thursday, you know what I'm saying, back in your day, you played against Jared Goff. Okay, you watching the tape. How do you feel? Like, what is your thought going into the week?
Oh, I feel good.
like work?
Yeah, like we just go and play football. Like I think, like I'm trying to think of like quarterbacks that you knew were trouble. Like Tom always beat us. Like the one time we beat him, we had drafted some young corners and we could go man everywhere. So we were able to rush, man up, and we basically beat Tom's receivers, not Tom Brady. We were a fire zone team. So, we were going to rush 5. We were just looking for one-on-ones. But if you could figure out where it was coming from, you knew where to go with the ball. Tom always knew. So he beat us here. And Aaron, bruh, like Aaron Rodgers threw the ball into coverage when we played him. He made the wrong decisions when we played him. But he could just put the ball anywhere he wanted to. You know what I mean? And so, like, that made him difficult to play. But you got to realize, dog, like, the quarterbacks like we see today, the Deshaun's and the Pats and the Lamar's, and I think people don't give guys like Joe Burrow the credit he deserves for being able to manipulate the pocket, create second chance plays, and then use his legs. I think, like, the quarterbacks now are so much more athletic, and that's so much more acceptable. We didn't have a lot of guys like that. I mean, you had Vic, right? And obviously when you played him, it was tough. Russell came, toward the end of my career as well. But we didn't have a lot of these dudes that gave you that trouble of the duality that we see today. But like, Jared, you just going to stand there and throw the ball? So all you need to tell me is I got to know from these condensed splits, you going to tell me exactly what the route is in the first 3 steps of this still? Oh, we playing football, coach.
Yeah, you just got to make the play then.
Yeah, that's it.
You just got to make the play then. Hey, for me, though, I want this advice. If you had any advice to give me, what's the keys to winning the AFC North? You played in it for a while. I know you're a Pittsburgh guy.
It's a very different division than it was when I played, obviously. But I think the one thing that always stands there is toughness.
Right.
I think you learned that, when I had my whole Brady Quinn situation during the season. I think I think you learned that, right? Like, if you don't fight through injury that game and play it to the fourth and play well, you don't win.
At all.
Right? Like there's going to be physicality involved in that division. You think about it, every team has great rushers, right? Like, that's what the AFC North was built on, whether it's Miles, TJ, Trey Hendrickson, Matabike, right? Like, the rushers all over the place. The difference is now is the quarterbacks are really good.
Right.
I think that's why you struggle if you're Pittsburgh, because, you have to, like, you go draft Kenny has to play at a higher level because you're going to play Lamar, Joe, and Deshaun twice a year.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't that when I played. We had Ben. Ben was the best quarterback in the division for a long time. Joe came, played against Carson, Andy a little bit. Cleveland was a revolving door of terrible people. And so
I'm about Charlie Fry now. You know what I'm saying?
But I think do y'all remember Derek Anderson from Oregon State?
I remember him. Yeah.
So Derek had a year though where he balled, and then he became Derek again.
He remembered his name.
Yeah, he remembered his name. But man, that's the one thing I think Deshaun, and like the other thing too is, bro, it's consistency.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
I don't think that's any different than any other place to play football or any other division. But bro, you got to show up every week because it's going to be so tight. It's going to come down to tiebreakers. It's going to come down to division wins, to conference wins, you know, and like that was what we always did, man. We were 12-4 twice, and in those same, well, we were 12-4 more than that, but 2 of the years we were 12-4. So were the Ravens.
Right. So it's gonna
You
matter.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and they because of tiebreakers, they ended up having to come to us in the playoffs, and we beat them both.
Right.
But we very well could have been going there, and it's
to
a different
Baltimore.
game.
Yeah. I feel like Pittsburgh got Baltimore's number though. Like for the last couple of years, I feel like Pittsburgh, regardless of who the quarterback is, Pittsburgh is gonna handle Baltimore for some reason. And I will be watching those games because it's like whenever, you know, we play Pittsburgh, especially when we go to the to Pittsburgh, it's always tough. It's gonna come down to like the last couple of drives. But when Pittsburgh come to Cleveland, the last couple of years, it's been, you know, kind of a whoever start off pretty much fast and kind of take over. But that's what I want to.
I do have a question.
Too.
I got a question for you, Deshaun.
All right.
So probably about a year or two ago, I asked Mike T. I was like, Mike T, did you know T.J. Watt was going to be this good? Right? When you are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, is he the type of dude you always have to have a plan for? To
Almost
get blocked
definitely.
up?
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's, you know, the hard part is Hightower is a problem too, and I feel like he don't get enough credit. Highsmith don't get enough credit as he should. Cause that dude,
he got enough money.
Oh, for sure. But people don't.
His bank account gets credit.
Talk about him enough. But like, for sure. But nah, you definitely gotta have a plan because you gotta know where 90 is all the time because, you know, it might not be early in the game, it might not be second quarter, it might not even be fourth quarter. But when they get under them 6-7 minutes in that fourth quarter, 90 gonna turn it up. I don't know what he do. I don't know if it's against me or if it's against Lamar. But both of us, we lose the same way. A sack fumble and Highsmith pick it up. I'm like, bro, this is crazy, dog. And you can't make it up. And it's like one of those deals where you kind of like all week you talk about it. And the next thing you know, he just shows up. So you got to have a plan for him. You got to chip him. You got to get him off sort. But then when you chip him too, it's like, the right tackle or even the left tackle if he goes on that side, but the right tackle has to be disciplined because you go out of sort because all he's going to do is going to come upfield. He's going to play one way for a quarter, and next thing you know, he's going to realize, all right, this is how they chipping me. Boom, he's going to do that spin move inside. He's right in your face. And then he's athletic enough. Yeah. Like,
he athletic as hell.
Yeah, so it's like.
He athletic like me, kind of.
Nah, Nah, he's definitely up there, top two for sure.
You know what I find fascinating about him is like we're in the age of rushing, right? And he was at 19, and somebody like Micah, who's obviously one of the best rushers, most athletic players in the league, he's only at 14. You know, you look at Max Crosby, you know, every time you watch him play, he's only at 14 and a half.
Yeah.
And for TJ to constantly, you know, play at that level. And Mike T straight up said it. He's like, when I asked him, did he know if he would be that good? He was like, hell no, we'd have moved up to the first pick to get him if we thought he was going to be that good, man. And so that's why I love AFC North football, man. I think it's, you know, one of the toughest divisions in football. I thought it was the best division this year going into the season, and you can see by the teams that were fighting to get in the playoffs that it was. Yeah. But it's going to be a heavyweight fight every year, you know, with the quarterback they have, especially if Pittsburgh goes out and makes a move to get them another guy in the offseason.
Most definitely.
They're going to get one. You made the transition probably better than anybody that we've seen. Go from sports, doing TV as a media personality while you're in the league, then you go, you're on TV, but then you start you start the most powerful sports, like former athlete, current athlete podcast going. And you didn't do that just through sports, like sports. You guys told real stories. You learned about people. What allowed you to make that transition from, all right, boom, I'm doing this, that interview with Mike Beasley, right? That was an interview that changed the game, watching you guys sit down with him.
Yeah, that was an accident. Like, we definitely didn't, like, that wasn't the freaking plan. Yeah, like, nobody sat there and thought that we was going to cry that day. I'll tell you a story about that day. So we were supposed to do Derrick Henry, right? Fred told us he had Derrick Henry locked up. So we was like, cool. We actually did Candace Parker that morning in Atlanta, which never came out because she had some documentary stuff. We flew back to Florida to do Derrick Henry. He canceled on us, right? Or something happened where it was never locked in. So, Fred, he'd be moving slow. And so we ended up doing Warren Sapp and Michael Beasley the same night. So Mike shows up and, I don't know if you've ever seen our show, Quincy or D. Like, we have a ton of lights. We got cameras everywhere. We got a Roman camera. So it's like a real shoot. So he was thinking to himself, man, I'm just going to shoot this podcast with these mics. It's nothing. So he kind of shows up and gets nervous. We do what we do to everybody. If you're nervous, we send Channing out there. It's impossible to be mad around Chan.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
So Chan comes out, they hit a couple of drinks, bro. And so I prepare for I probably take 3-4 hours for every interview and just write down notes in my phone. And so I can always have somewhere to go because not everybody's a talker. Right.
Uh-huh.
And so, man, we're going through it and he's kind of all over the place. You could tell he was nervous, but I realized through studying, he went to a lot of high school. And I started thinking about my high school career. That was when I learned how to form relationships. I had my first little girlfriend. My best friend went to high school with me. Those are relationships I carried on into college, though, not the girlfriend part, but my homeboys, right? You know what I mean? And so, and so I asked him, I was like, hey, man, we're bouncing around to different schools like that. How did you learn to develop relationships? And then just right at that point, he was just like, I fucking didn't. And after that, bro, it just clicked.
Yeah.
And then the thing I learned and we learned was it's okay to listen. We always kind of want podcasts to be a conversation, but if you truly value the guest, you'll just let them talk. Because a lot of times you realize you don't have the right question, but if you just let them talk, they're going to tell you what they want to tell you anyway. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, everybody's so media savvy. It's you can't get me on a show to say something I don't want to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if I sit up here and lie and be like, man, I won't say this. Nah, if I said it, I meant to say it.
You can't use it. You know what I mean? I had a plan. Nigga, hold on. You ain't got to say nothing. I got this.
Yeah. And so, but nah, man, it's been really a blessing to do it because I think we got some opportunities from some people who not necessarily are misunderstood, but who their perception has been developed through a narrative that they don't get to write. We've had the opportunity to sit down with those people and give them the space to tell their truths. And sometimes, we've gotten pushed back well, why didn't you push back on this? And I'd be like, because how do I know it ain't the truth?
Facts, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's their story. You know what I mean? Simone Biles she comes to watch Jonathan Owens be interviewed. We didn't know she was going to be there. This was a road game he interviewing with her. She comes with him, and they're telling the story about how they met. And he was like, I didn't know who she was. Now, to me, does that seem a little it's Simone Biles, bro?
Yeah.
Right? But that's his story, and black women for sure was you should have pushed back, he disrespecting that queen. So you mean to tell me I'm supposed to feel like the queen was disrespected when the queen don't feel like she was disrespected?
She was smiling. She was
right,
smiling.
Clearly, I'm not going to mess up these people happy home. You know what I'm saying? So, but nah, man, it's been just a really dope experience, bro, and good to get away from analyzing football and just having conversations and showing people that you could be a human.
Have you had a moment on that podcast where you felt like things are going not in an awkward space, but just south, if you know what I mean? Like in a sense where it's uncomfortable for y'all to continue to talk, or is it more just kind of you just adapt to the situation?
No, I think I'm trying to think that we never really get uncomfortable. I think whenever you do a show with Channing, it's hard to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because he mostly says the most uncomfortable thing. And then when you have people who have a certain story, you normally already know the story.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's very few things, like, and I have been surprised for sure, but, you know, like, there's very few things that I haven't read something about, or I haven't studied, or I haven't called somebody about. Like, the one thing I won't do in preparing is listen to them do another interview.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, I won't do that because I don't want to hear how they've been asked the questions or stuff like that. But I'll just read a ton of articles, right? Because I feel like when I read the articles, it just gets stuck in my head. And so, like, most of the stuff, man, like, you know, you're prepared for. You know, we just had Gayle King on, and obviously, you know, she has the famous interview with R. Kelly. You know, and so, like, you ask her about it, and she was just like I wasn't scared he was going to hurt me, but I was scared in his excitement that he could hit me. You know what I mean? And not like purposely, but just like jumping up and down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, and he spit on my lip, like right here. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so, you know what I mean? And so, like, you know, like, you get stuff like that, man. But overall, like, you know it is, man, fellas, bro. We grown, bro. I'm 44.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be very little that makes me uncomfortable. I will say this, like, the Michael Beasley episode is definitely the episode that made us the pivot, for sure. But it was like the episode that allowed us to be human and not be interviewers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, that man ain't need to be interviewed. Like, that man needed to talk to a homeboy.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he just needed to chat. And so our job was to not try to exploit his pain. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, that was what we tried to do.
See, I respect that, and I like that too. Because, you know, most podcasts, they were looking for that clickbait. What's going to get the media to pick it up? You know what I'm saying? Where, in your sense, it's mostly just, we here for you. We're here for the guy that's getting interviewed. You know what I'm saying?
And we've had those conversations for sure, you know, about like, because we've talked to people and they're saying like how you should do your headers, right? To where people see the title script on it and are like attached to it.
Right.
You know, and like, just because Gayle is fresh in my mind, she told a story about a dude she started dating, and in the first week, he asked her to borrow 4 G's. You know what I'm saying? and so here's the crazy part. She gave him the 4 G's, right? He did pay her back, but when she was talking to Oprah hit her with the, shoot, I would have felt better if he asked for 40,000. You know what I'm saying? She's like, yeah. Oprah was like, you got to borrow 4 G's? You really broke. Oh, but
4 G's ain't gonna get it done, my man.
But like, it was, you know, like in that situation, you know, we were talking about the header, and obviously the header could have been, you know, Gayle, because she ended up breaking up with her. Gayle breaks up with man because he asked for $4,000.
Right.
Right. Like, that could have been what we used, but like, that's not our show. It's in the show because she said it, because we were talking about dating. But we don't want people to watch our show for that. We wanted to watch it for the substance, and then you're going to have fun, you know, while you do it. And so we miss out probably on some of the clickbait stuff and like some of the things that go viral. But I feel like people who come on our show and people who reach out to us to come on our show do, because of the precedent we've set of the way we work.
Most definitely.
And then as a media member, you get a lot of arrows thrown at you. You know what I'm saying? Folks is talking crazy. They want to take their shot. They don't know that in real life that you would actually beat them up, or at least make an attempt to beat them up.
I try.
I've sent out invitations via DMs to folks like, yo, I seen you talking crazy. Like, we can handle this. Like, whenever, like I just seen you. We can do that if that's how you want to play it. I'm confident that that's a move. Was that a business decision? Or what made you stop? You know what I'm saying? Just, hey, what's good? We can handle this.
So, in an honest moment, I did invite somebody for that last Friday in New York.
I don't know who it is. I'm gonna ask you later. I'm gonna just
no, like it wasn't even like that. It was just like everybody was mad about the Purdy thing. And honestly, bro, like whether it's like racial issues or issues about sports, I answer DMs of people who think differently from me, because like I feel like you can learn from them.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I don't care if you disagree with me. I just want to make sure my point is understood. And if somebody is telling me my point isn't understood, I have to be a better communicator. And so like that's why I had the conversation. But like dude was like, man, you an effing clown. He called me the B word, And so I was in New York. That's where, we work on Monday and Friday. And so I pressed his profile and I saw he lived in New York. and so I was like, well, I see you live in New York. I'm here twice a week. I ain't really that hard to find, And I was like, if you want to throw around some more effing clowns and B words, I'm all for it. We can meet up. And that's probably not the right thing to do. And he told me that he said he was too mature. That he wasn't immature and petty enough to fight. And what I told him was, well, you shouldn't be as immature or petty enough to cuss in the DMs like you would.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like the line of disrespect that folks don't understand on social media. They think, oh, I'm just tweeting something. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
This lady said something crazy to me yesterday about her Taylor Swift tweet. She called me a loser. So I had to ask her why. Her dad was so dumb that she didn't understand. You know what I'm saying? She called me a bad father, XYZ. Like, when people hit you with disrespect, I mean disrespect with disrespect. Like, some people want to take the high road. I'm taking the low road. I don't know any other way. How raised, like,
honestly though, man, I'm trying to get better for sure, because like I'm too old to fight. You know what I mean? Like I get it, and I shouldn't. And I always make the joke. It's like, it's not that I think I could beat everybody up. It's just that I grew up in a place where you couldn't be scared to lose a fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's my dad says it all the time, man. And Chan, my dad was talking about it actually one day. Like, people just don't want to wear ass with it.
Facts.
My homeboy Joe Witt, he coached for the Cowboys. He always said that too. He was like, the problem is people don't want to wear ass whipping, but he uses it mostly in like the violence we see today. You know what I mean? Like, cats don't want to get scuffed up and just live on with their life. And so I think, like, for me now, man, I'm trying to get to a place to where I've outgrown that, but you are who you are. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, sometimes I just put my phone down because, you know me, like, and the other thing is, too, I try to only answer people with profile pictures because I just want to talk about your profile picture. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm going to get petty.
Yeah, like, I just want to talk about you. Because, like, what does it matter to me if Jane 26, 42, 59 thinks that Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes? I don't care about that. And you think I'm stupid because I say Patrick Mahomes is better? But I do care about the fact that you ain't brushed your teeth in 26 years. And we going to talk about that.
Hey, RC, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I just want like a rapid response. You tell me, you know what I'm saying, what's going on, why these things did or did not happen. Good with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why didn't Bill Belichick get a head coaching job?
So I don't know for sure. Here's my thought on it. One, lack of success after Tom Brady. Lack of success developing Mac Jones and watching him regress. And do we really think Bill Belichick would be fun to talk to in an interview? Right? Do we think...
I'm going to go with the hard no.
Yeah, do we think Bill Belichick would be a guy that goes, man, you know, if we get a new young quarterback in here, they're going to relate very well. Let's say we're thinking to ourselves, we're going to try to get Jaden Daniels. Just throwing out a name. Bill Belichick and Jaden Daniels are going to get along splendidly. You know, I think that's another piece of it that they probably could have heard.
Raheem Morris and the Atlanta Falcons.
I love Raheem. Raheem's one of my close friends. My favorite defensive back coach of all time. I think he gets it. He understands players. You know, he got a job at Tampa very young. And I believe that now, you know, he's ready for this position. And like the one thing I love to see is when, you know, like Bobby Wagner was on our show Friday. He said Raheem deserved the job. He actually wanted Raheem to get the Seattle job. Jalen Ramsey, you know, who you guys both know, he tweeted out right away, how amazing of a coach of man Raheem is. Like, that's the test to me, right? If the dudes who were in your room every day vouch for you, then that's the sort of guy you want coaching.
Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers, does it work?
Yes. And I say that only because it's worked everywhere he's been. Like, the dude may have a shelf life. He may be hard to get along with for extended periods of time. But Stanford, San Francisco, Michigan, all those places, he turned around those organizations and programs, and it didn't take him very long to do. And, you know, you guys know this better than me, but I think Justin Herbert is talented. I don't know if he has certain intangibles you need from a leadership standpoint, but I do know he could throw that whole mile and throw it where he wants to.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, gosh, it's 2 weeks. It's so early, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, man. It's like at some point, you just got to stop betting against Patrick Mahomes. I just do. You know, and obviously as a team, he has a great defense this year, Andy Reid. But, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You know, he's gotten to the point to where when he does lose a big game, you like, dang, Kansas City lost?
How did that happen?
Right. I don't know if y'all saw the thing in Complex that dropped recently. And it's him talking to his wife, and they're asking each other questions off a sheet of paper. And she's like, he's like, what's something I always lose at? And she was like, you never lose. He was like, you right, I don't. And they was like joking, but they wasn't joking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, ha ha, it's like Kanye, ha ha. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they knew what it was. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Kansas City.
That's all I got for my rapid questions. I know you got this 7 o'clock car service where you got to get out of here.
I do.
So
hey,
I
man,
definitely appreciate
y'all.
you.
No, I appreciate you, man.
Boys. The song, man, when you get a chance, man, just holler at, man. We still want to sit down, bro.
Oh, yeah,
you ever
for
get
sure.
a chance, you know, do that.
Yeah,
right.
most definitely. We'll definitely tap in.
I see y'all, boys.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
That was great with Ryan Clark. But now, welcome to the Q4 segment where we close out the show with our top 4 list from Mr. Deshaun Watson. Here's my question. What are the top 4 Super Bowl cities?
Top 4 Super Bowl cities? You got to go Vegas. Vegas is going to be off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vegas, New Orleans. I got to experience the Houston one. Houston was pretty crazy. And I think it was 2016, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you got the H-Town, then you got Atlanta coming in, and, of course, New England fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was lit. So, I would say Houston.
You can't leave out the best Super Bowl city.
Atlanta, right?
I mean, Atlanta should be in there. I think you left out
what
that
you
one.
thinking?
I don't know how.
Who I'm missing?
I'm going Vegas. I'm going New Orleans. I'm going Miami. And then it's really between Houston and Miami was cool because you could always.
Miami was definitely cool, but it was so much traffic. So I was trying to think of like, what is something that's like everything is right there? Because Vegas, everything is on the strip. Houston, Houston's big, spacious, but you kind of know what side of town you're gonna be on.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna really be downtown. Yeah, you're gonna be in the Galleria area.
Atlanta was cool because you knew like where you needed to be. Everything was right there, Houston. Downtown on Peachtree. It was cool. Like you could go kick it in Buckhead, come right downtown. You good? You Gucci?
You good? And then New Orleans, everything's right there. Miami is just so. I love Miami, of course. Everyone does. But it's
the parties were amazing in Miami.
It was.
The vibe was top tier.
It took forever to get there though. Hey, you remember?
It took an hour to get from 4th and Ocean to 18th and Ocean. I like how.
You remember when the C was like, he gonna get the helicopter for the beach party and land on the beach?
Like, bro, get off the blade at my man.
Come on, bro. You ain't finna land no helicopter on the beach, man, at the party. Like, come on, bro.
So what is your final 4 list, man? What you got?
No order. Vegas, New Orleans, Atlanta.
Houston.
I'd go Miami. I'd go Miami.
Kick Houston out the club. Get your ass up out of here.